I was asked about the signs that let us know that our heart is healthy enough to begin dating after experiencing the trauma of heartbreak. So I was asked about the signs that our heart is healthy enough to begin dating after the trauma of experiencing a heartbreak. So here are the three things that have been true for me that I've seen echoed in relationships, in my circles and in my travels. One, there's an internal, you're being led internally to begin dating, right? To begin looking at dating possibilities. Maybe you find yourself on apps. Maybe you notice there's a frequency in your speaking about dating relationships, the kind of relationship that you envision, would like to experience. Maybe you begin intuitively connecting to the relationships around you in a positive and healthy way, referencing people whose relationships are nurturing and healthy. So that's one, kind of this intuitive and internal yearning and being led, quite frankly. So you find that you're in it or being pulled into it from the inside rather than external forces trying to get you to date. Number two, recognizing that you're putting on the brakes. So there were times where I did not know that I was in the conversation, but I found myself putting on the brakes. So I could see that I was in it, but didn't know that I had moved into it, if that makes any sense. So I liken it to the moments where I'm driving and I zone out and I know that I have driven for several blocks, and there have been a number of traffic lights that I can't recall having gone through. And then when I stop and think about it, I go, well, I know there were traffic lights. I know I went through them. Now I'm wondering if they were even green, right? Green or yellow. So there's a blanking out. I'm not aware that I've moved through the traffic lights and into a dazed or zone, but I recognize that I'm waking up to the fact that I've traveled a period of time. So my conversations have traveled, and maybe I'm waking up to people that are flirting with me, or maybe, I was flirting with somebody or having conversations around dating again. And then I go, hold up, how did I get here? So the second clue for me is I recognize I'm putting on the brakes. I didn't recognize or was not aware that I had my foot on the gas, right? So one of the cues or clues may be where you may be halting or stopping conversations or stopping yourself from going on the app or even sabotaging a date. Somebody asks you out, real informally, let's get something after school or let's get something after work. And you're like, no. You start making up reasons. That's putting on the brakes. And then the third one that has been consistent is to talk about or finding yourself talking about relationships, searching for relationships, engaging in conversations, actually dating, however you define that, without referencing the past, without referencing the heartbreak, without referencing the upset. So those are the three things that I would offer that may support you in your journey. If you check in and go, okay, there's an internal or intuitive leading that's taking place. I'm finding myself engaging in thoughts and I feel happy and I enjoy the sensations. And I might even actually be engaging in conversations with people about dating. Number two, I recognize that I'm putting on the brakes, right? And that those are perhaps acts of sabotage or ways that I'm just waking up to, I've unconsciously begun moving into this. Because when the heart is healthy, it needs no restrictive behavior, right? It flows. The heart represents love. Love flows until we block it. And then the third one is being able to speak about relationships without referencing the past. I hope those support and nurture you on your journey. As always, particularly if you're dealing with the experience of heartbreak, it's always teaching, showing, and revealing something. The heart is a muscle, so it breaking can make it stronger. It's the ego that creates defense mechanisms. The heart is strong, and sometimes the heartbreak is the way to break the heart open so that you experience more, because some of us don't realize that we have already put barriers around it and encased it and put it into a cast. And so the heartbreak feels worse because maybe the cast or the covering that was on it was rooted in expectation, and the cast and the covering that was put on it was don't hurt me, and the cast and the covering might have looked like proving yourself, and you've got to jump over hurdles and through hoops in order to gain my trust and love, right? So that's a cast. Then you say, okay, well, I'm giving myself to you now because you've proven yourself worthy, and then there's a betrayal of whatever your parameters are, and we call it heartbreak. But sometimes the heartbreak isn't detrimental. It is an awakening and an opening. But in order to see it that way, you'd have to be gentle. So as always, be gentle with yourself and others.